This afternoon city council meeting, a local agency helping settle refugees in Iowa updated city leaders on the impact of federal funding cuts. Nick Wirtz with Lutheran Services of Iowa told council members the federal government has paused the Refugee Resettlement Services program. Funding for that program and reimbursement of funding for money spent on those services to LSI. Agency leaders are still seeking $1.5 million that they have already provided in services dating back to December of last year. LSI recently laid off some of its employees at offices in Iowa, to include 7 workers at its Sioux City location. Wirtz called the cuts detrimental, but he said he insists some services are still active.
LSI's foster care and adoption services and early childhood programs thankfully have not been affected, but it's going to have a significant impact on the amount of services we can help provide to newcomers here in the region.
The organization is in the process of reaching out to lawmakers to restore funding, but have not yet heard back. LSI will hold a virtual town hall meeting to inform the public on ways they can help. You can find the link to the meeting inside this story on KTIV.com.